This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to Thursday night's late night news roundup. No, it's not. It's the late night agenda. We'll get there eventually. You're all very welcome along. Tonight, of course, we're going to speak about the title of the stream. Now, let me just say one thing. Early doors, just so I don't get given out to. I am not saying that these three will all be signed for Liverpool. But what I'm telling you is it's not impossible. And tonight we're going to try to figure out exactly what's going on, who said what, how likely these transfers are, and do we have time to get them done before the window shuts. We'll also try to figure out the situation with Newcastle and Alexander Isak as they look to move for Strand Larsen as a possibility. If they were to bring in Strand Larsen and say Johan Visa, then that is a little chink of life for Liverpool in their search for Isak. So we'll talk about that. We'll speak about Harvey Elliott and his future. I mentioned in our WhatsApp channel to keep an eye on the situation with Crystal Palace with Harvey Elliott because, well, that could get a little bit interesting as well. First super chat of the night, let me get straight into it as well from Chris Ferraro. How are we, Chris? Said if Liverpool get Rodrygo, Isak and Guehi, will expectations be too high for the players? I don't see the Premier League letting this happen. Thoughts? So, the expectations on the players, look, my man, I can't really speak to that. I don't know what the situation is with the expectation that they may or may not feel. With regards to the Premier League letting it happen, I don't see why they wouldn't, to be fair, as long as it's within the rules. And, you know, Liverpool's spending, as we've mentioned, has been miserly in recent seasons or in recent windows. So, good to go on that one. So look, it's possible. We'll try and figure it out. There are multiple reports today to suggest that Rodrygo's agent, I should say, has flown over to the UK for talks with not just Liverpool, but interested Premier League clubs. You would imagine one of those might be Manchester City. Arsenal, I don't know if Arsenal are still in the hunt for a left winger. I know they've brought in Eze, who they're looking at as kind of a number 10, but, you know, let's talk about it. Let's try and figure it out because it's been very interesting to watch the last 24 hours in particular, and I've been frantically on the phone all day trying to figure out what is possible and what isn't possible. And obviously Mark Guehi at the moment on the pitch playing for Crystal Palace against Fredrikstad in the Europa Conference League qualifier. So you hope he comes through that unscathed and then see what the next few days have in store for us. So look, let's get into the comments. Chad. So I wanted to just mention something really quickly, actually, while we have everybody in. So Chad, the gentleman who sent this super chat, and I will get to the Frimpong stuff, sent me over a whole load of Cornhuskers, Nebraska, Adidas gear today. And I just want to say a huge thank you. And I mean a load of gear. I'm not talking about like a hat and a top. I mean, he sent me a load of gear over, and it actually brought me to tears to think that somebody thinks that much of me to send me something from the other side of the world over. And I've been very blessed with people on this channel being good spirits and good souls. And I just want to say a massive thank you to Chad because, man, I needed that smile on my face because it's been a tough few weeks and I really appreciate it, Chad. Thank you so much. And to get to the Frimpong injury, yeah, it is concerning. There's no denying that, bro. It is concerning. We've got Frimpong out until after the September international break. So that's this game and Arsenal, big games for us. We've got Conor Bradley back training, which is always a good thing. But it wasn't great to hear as well, Chad, that Joe Gomez had missed 3 days of training. No real explanation as to why from Arsenal. Didn't say he suffered a new injury. Just said he had to miss it for 3 days. Now, I guess if we're looking for a positive point in the situation with Frimpong, it's that it could have been worse. You know, if the medical team hadn't erred on the side of caution, investigated, this could have been a far worse injury. So it looks like they prevented something that could have been worse than the couple of games he's going to miss now, but still not great. So let's read through what the manager has had to say on the Frimpong situation and the right back situation. He said on Joe Gomez, Joe hasn't had a setback, but he wasn't able to train 3 days in a row. We'll see where he is on Monday and if he can start. You can prepare for your injuries in one position. You can't have 5 right backs, although we do have 3 right backs at the moment, or 3 left backs, at the moment. So look, I'm not going to sit here and say we didn't fill the position at right back or we don't have enough options. We do. It's just been really unlucky for Arna that Frimpong's picked up a knock, that Bradley has been injured for a little while and Joe Gomez is working his way back. So we do have options there. I'm not going to sit here and start crying about a lack of depth. We've plenty of depth at right back. Jeremy has had a positive injury record, said Arna. Connor has been out once or twice last season. These things happen. We only have 2 injuries at the same moment, but they're both in the same position. Goes on to speak about Dominic Szoboszlai, Endo, being able to play at right back. But let me just say this. Please no to Endo at right back, mate. Please no. If we can get Joe Gomez on there, by all means. If Connor Bradley's fit, brilliant. If they can play a half each, brilliant. But I think we don't want to be seeing Endo at right back in this particular game. He also spoke in his presser a little bit about Giovanni Leone. He said he's a good-looking guy, like most Italians. He's trained 3 times now. Transfer fee you can expect. He is quite grown up for his age. An 18-year-old who plays like he's been here longer. Fast, comfortable on the ball. He's had 3 good sessions. It tells you a lot about this group that you feel at ease from the start. Speaking about Newcastle and our trip up there, he said nothing to do with what's in the media. When you go to Newcastle, you know what to expect. We played them 3 times last season and twice their intensity levels were above us. I don't think they need anything added to be intense at St James's Park. They can make it a fight. They have players who are so good on the ball. One of the best teams and one of the most difficult teams to face in the league. And he's not wrong. Like, all this ISAK stuff aside, it's always a difficult task going up to St James's Park. You know, we found that out previously. Obviously, we were beaten in the League Cup final by them. Deservedly beaten as well. So yeah, it was never going to be easy and I'm excited. I'm nervy, but excited. I mean, the next 2 games for us in the league are 2 very difficult games. St James's Park for Newcastle away and then, of course, Arsenal at home before the international break. So, let's get into some of the comments. Gary said, hey Craig, hope you and the family are well. I think with all our injury concerns at right back, we need to sign Mark Guehi ASAP. Well, it would definitely be a nice little bit of a bonus, wouldn't it? A nice little cover. I truly still don't know what is the situation at right back or, at centre back. I don't know yet. Still no movement seemingly on an extension for Konate. Obviously, Mark Guehi playing tonight for Crystal Palace. He's playing the left side of a back 3. We've seen that Eze was, of course, left out as he nears his completion to Arsenal, which is, as we said last night, a very good signing for the Gunners. Yeah, look, it is a concern, but I hope one of Joe Gomez or Connor Bradley will be available. And if one of those 2 are fit enough to start, I think that'll be a huge relief for me anyway. You know, I do have nothing but faith in both of them. And of course, Frimpong as well. But, you know, we need to have at least one of them ready. Where are we at? Stevie, how are you, sir? So I've got my data open beside me, keeping an eye on the connection tonight, praying to the Wi-Fi gods that it doesn't mess up again. My God, mate, a long shot, I know, but imagine that would be Harlem Globetrotter stuff. I did take a little time, Stevie, to imagine earlier on, bro, to sit down and think, what if? What if Rodrygo came in? What if ISAK came in? What if Guehi came in? It would be ridiculous. There's quite simply no other word for it. Ridiculous is right. Do I think it happens? I really don't know. Like, there's this latter part of the window is one that I'm really struggling to get a read on. You know, are we looking at Rodrygo maybe as the failsafe? Because I could see a world where maybe we couldn't get ISAK for obvious reasons, and then maybe Liverpool pivoted to a Rodrygo. Now, I've always said Rodrygo's not a deal that I thought Liverpool would pursue, but maybe they were more confident on ISAK, and that hasn't come to fruition, or at least yet hasn't come to fruition. So my thinking is it maybe Rodrygo with a view to revisit ISAK in the future? I don't know, but very credible people, and I've reached out to a couple today as well to inquire. And again, the agent, like Wirtz as an example, isn't necessarily just coming over to talk with us, but it seems like there's some truth to that story. So let's wait and see what all pans out. So, David, I've gone through this a few times. People have asked me, and I understand people asking me about it, obviously. But for me, and again, mate, I can only give you my interpretation of it. I didn't think it was necessary to include Jota in the comparison that Brian was making, but I didn't think it was done with any intentional malice. Now, maybe it was something could have been avoided. And like I have to say, I know Brian, so obviously I have a different viewpoint on this to others. I know him as a person a bit, and I know he's a good guy. So, I can't tell you, though, whether it annoyed you or not, mate, and I understand where you're coming from. But for me, when I looked at the clip in context, I didn't feel he was looking to belittle Diogo or that situation, but I did feel that he could have made the same point he wanted to make without introducing Diogo to it. So that was my honest take on it. Can Tsimikas play right back? I've heard he's two-footed. Well, there's absolutely a possibility that he could play at right back. We have inverted wingers, and Gomez has operated on the left-hand side many times, and he's right-footed. So, it certainly wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility. I'd far prefer the likes of that than shoehorning a Dominic Szoboszlai or an Endo in at right back, Golden Husky. So for me, I wouldn't say no. I can see once Guehi done Konate being sold at Hammer UK. So that's a subject I wanted to broach with you guys tonight. I'm sitting here, obviously, as a fan, trying to figure it all out. And in my mind, and of course, I'm joining dots here that are low-hanging fruit, but like I said last night, is there a world where Liverpool and Real Madrid have a conversation? Maybe Ibrahima Konate is offered in one direction if Rodrygo's a genuine interest for us, and then we move to get Mark Guehi. So is there this weird world where Guehi comes to Liverpool, Konate goes to Madrid, Rodrygo comes to Liverpool, and also keep an eye on Crystal Palace with Harvey Elliott, because having lost and moved on Eze, there's some chatter that they could visit a Harvey Elliott move before the window shuts. Now, I know there was a report earlier from Ben Jacobs who said Liverpool's preference is to keep Harvey Elliott. Leipzig are still working on a deal, but nothing agreed club to club as of Thursday morning. At the right price, Liverpool will reluctantly sanction a sale due to understanding Elliott's desire to play every week. So, I think that's about right, what Ben said there. I'm sure Liverpool didn't go into the market wanting to sell Harvey Elliott, but I think the part about Elliott in search of first-team football and the respect Liverpool, of course, have for Harvey Elliott means that for the right offer, if it's something Harvey wants to do, I think Liverpool will listen. Guehi still playing for Palace, risking the move again. Well, he's no choice. He's a Crystal Palace player. And one thing I do want to clear up, actually, on him playing tonight for Crystal Palace, it wouldn't cup tie him in the Champions League. I know a lot of people were getting concerned about that. It wouldn't. So we'd be all right in that regard. Now, again, I'm not saying we are definitely signing him, but that was something I'd seen come up in conversation. Sunil, how are you, sir? Said, should we pursue ISAK and Guehi in January when the fees are slashed? Go all out for Rodrygo now and integrate Leone. So, the ISAK fee isn't going to be slashed at any point. Even if it went a whole other summer, he still has 2 years then on his deal. So I don't see that being one that is going to be cheaper in January. Now, do you revisit in January similarly to the Virgil van Dijk situation with Southampton? Maybe. And Mark Guehi, he won't want to move. He will tell you this, or he will say this himself. World Cup year, he wants to be in a settled team and playing. So the idea of swapping clubs mid-season for him is a no-no. So, unfortunately, no, mate, I don't think any of those are possible. And going all out for Rodrygo, well, it surely has to be one of the backup plans if the ISAK situation doesn't pan out, because we need a forward. The manager said it, our captain said it, we fans, of course, know it as well. Neil Sharp Dent, how are we, sir? Said, if Newcastle block ISAK's move, players may fear being trapped and avoid signing for them. Could hurt recruitment. Thoughts? I absolutely agree. You know, I've seen journalists talk about this. I've seen agents talk about this. It is certainly something they have to consider. Look, I've said this so many times, and I feel like Newcastle fans obviously keep thinking I'm taking cheap shots at them, but you do have to understand your place in the football ecosystem. I use Dortmund as an example. Dortmund know what they are, and they get great players in, young players, give them the platform to show what they can do. They move on in a few years, they make money. Now, of course, Newcastle's ambition isn't to be a feeder club. I get that. But they do have to understand where they are currently in their development. And of course, that three-letter word as well, PSR. So it will 100% be looked at from the outside, Neil, as at least a question about whether you send your client there if you're an agent, or whether you send yourself there if you're a young footballer, because it's not a good look when these moves are being blocked. Now, actually, on that, I just want to read you out something from earlier on today. So this is from Lewis Steele. And it says, Liverpool remain on the sidelines waiting to see what happens. Of course, they still want Alexander Isak, and they will absolutely do a deal if the opportunity allows. A story is circulating in well-placed circles, not connected to either club, but familiar with the inner workings of the transfer industry, that Isak was under the impression that a bid of £100 million or more would see his release from Newcastle. Now let me read that last part out again, because it's not he saying it, it's not Newcastle are saying it. He said, a story is circulating in well-placed circles, so within the football world, not connected to either club, but familiar with the inner workings of the transfer industry, that Isak was under the impression that a bid of £100 million or more would be enough for him to be moved on this summer. And I've got to be in my bonnet with Henry Winter, who I think is a wonderful journalist, and, you know, I very rarely would say anything against Henry Winter. I think he's brilliant at what he does. But he keeps talking about Liverpool's £110 million offer as some kind of throwaway offer. Like it was unrealistic, like it was disrespectful. How? I keep saying this. How is £110 million disrespectful? Granted, it might not be what you want as a selling club and it's your preference to set a price. But to talk about £110 million rising to £120 million, which could potentially be a British transfer record, as a throwaway or a belittling offer is absolute insanity. And what he went on to say was, in a market where forwards are moving, average forwards for 45, 50, 60 million quid, Liverpool need to be realistic. Now, respectfully, it's not Liverpool's fault if everybody else is having to overpay for average forwards. Liverpool will have a price and a budget and a thought process, and they'll move with that. £110 million, it might not be the number, like I've said, but it's hardly disrespectful. It's hardly blatantly low, is it? It's £110 million. If we all lost the run of ourselves here, it's an awful lot of money. Mr. H and Friends, how are you? Congratulations, Mr. H and Friends, by the way, just welcomed a new baby into the world with his missus. Congratulations to you guys as well, and wishing mammy and baby nothing but the best. This one from Chad said, Rodrygo is a hell of a failsafe. Absolutely. Rodrygo, look, why Rodrygo would be very interesting to me is obviously the pedigree. You know, Real Madrid, Brazil, but also multifunctional, multifaceted, can play left side, right side, central. And there was something from one of the journalists this evening, mate, that kind of caught my attention in this regard. So there's a report that Anfield Edition posted that said Liverpool have entered the race for Rodrygo. The Real Madrid winger is heading to the Premier League. They go on then, Sports Peter Rourke, said Rodrygo's representatives have flown to the UK to hold talks with interested clubs, including Liverpool. Real Madrid are open to selling the forward, who would be keen on a switch to the Premier League. But this here on Sky Sports is interesting as well. Liverpool are in the market for an attacker, not just a striker. They want somebody that can play as a 9, as a winger, and as a 10, somebody who can play multiple positions. That sounds like Rodrygo to me. So, again, I'm not saying Liverpool are nailed on to get him. There are other clubs interested, but I would say that there's a very, very, very good chance that it could happen. Now, Newcastle are seemingly backing away at the moment from Nicholas Jackson because he looks like he's going to go to Aston Villa, or at least the latest is that Aston Villa are pushing really hard to sign him. Fabrizio Romano said, Villa are pushing for Nicholas Jackson. Top target wanted by Unai Emery. Emery was Nicholas Jackson's coach of Villarreal. Relationship is excellent, with talks ongoing over a formula structure of the deal. Villa are also aware of competitors and several other top clubs interested. Newcastle, meanwhile, have apparently had a little look at Jørgen Strand Larsen of Wolves. Again, £60 million is the price being thrown around there. So there seems to be a bit of movement, a bit of action today that if, let's say, in a hypothetical world, let me ask this actually as a poll. 1 second. So, if, actually just go this way. Okay. So I want to ask you, if Newcastle United were to get Visa and that they were to get Larson, do they sell ISAK? What are your thoughts on it as Liverpool fans or football fans right now on that one? So we'll let that poll run. Do have a vote on it and let me know what you're thinking. Sunil said, Arteta has now spent more than Pep since joined Arsenal in 2019. Well, I do have that figure to hand, my friend. I was just about to bring it up in a minute, but you've segued me rather nicely into it, Sunil. So yeah, money spent since their last major trophy. Now, the figures are in euro here, so take that with a pinch of salt. Number 5 on the list, Niko Kovac, who has spent €407 million since his last trophy on players. Pep Guardiola has spent €438 million since his last trophy on players. Unai Emery, €472 million on players since his last trophy. And Mikel Arteta, top of the pile, numero uno, which would be a fucking change for him, wouldn't it? Number 1 with €1 billion spent. €1 billion since he last won a trophy, which was Unai Emery's team, basically, when he won the FA Cup with them. So, you know, keep that in mind, as Sunil said. Stevie said, Craig, I wonder if ISAK absolutely wants the move. Ultimately, he hands in a transfer request and takes the hit financially, or is it about the money for him? I couldn't tell you whether he takes that financial hit. Now, it's been spoken about quite a bit, and I've seen journalists writing about it quite a bit as well. I think ultimately that's going to be a personal decision for him if he thinks it will push the move along. But I don't know, mate. I don't know the answer. It certainly wouldn't do any harm in the situation other than financially to him if he did put in the request. But, you know, again, listening to Henry Winter last night on Sky, he was saying that a lot of people assumed at the PFA Awards, once that Instagram post from ISAK dropped, that it would be followed up with a transfer request. But, you know, it doesn't seem to have come at the moment. Where are we at? Right. I don't think Wolves are stupid enough to let their man up front go this late in the transfer window, in my opinion. Maybe, Mahmood, mate. I'm not saying it does or it doesn't happen. But, you know, all I can tell you is what's being reported. And, you know, I'm not a journalist, like I've said many times. I certainly don't know the ins and outs of Wolves transfer business. But let's wait and see, man. It's certainly not being ruled out initially by what I'm reading anyway. So let's wait and see if it happens. Andrew said, Hi Craig, can a player move twice in one window as Jørgen Strand Larsen moved to Wolves this season as he was on loan last year? Well, it's a really good question, Andrew. It's a fair question, mate. And I'm gathering the answer is yes, considering this interest is there. So, yeah, I can only assume, mate, that yes, he can. Or I guess they wouldn't be talking about the transfer, right? So let's wait and see how it pans out. Nomad said Arsenal have to win one of the big ones this season or he should be sacked on the spot. I said this last year. At what point do Arsenal look at this situation and think, well, we've backed him, we've waited long enough, we've been patient, and he has to deliver one of the big ones. So if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be asking questions. I'd probably be more on the league owner side of this, asking when is enough? When are we going to hold them to account? Because they've been backed. Yes, they've come close, There's no denying Arteta's moved them back in the right direction. He's getting them back into the Champions League. But if he doesn't make the step this season, I totally understand why the pressure should be on his shoulders. Right, let's keep going. Malik Fofana. Let's talk a little bit about him for a second. So L'Equipe reckon that Arsenal are interested in Malik Fofana as well. Now look, I really don't know what way Arsenal's forward line is shaping up and what spaces they have or haven't got. Obviously they're bringing in Eze as a 10. An option there, I guess, to either compete with or replace Odegaard on certain match days. On the other side, obviously, they've got Martinelli on the left side. There's always been talk that they're looking to upgrade him. So maybe Malik Fofana is financially possible for Arsenal, more so than, let's say, a Rodrygo with the Eze money they've spent. But again, a lot of this is guesswork from the media and trying to figure out what is going to happen. It feels like we are in for a mad last 11 days of the window. Be expecting news tonight, tomorrow, around what direction maybe Liverpool are headed in. Let's wait and see if Mark Guehi comes through that game with Fredrikstad without an injury or something. Let's see if Liverpool push on. But the one thing that really intrigues, is probably the fairest word, me as a Liverpool fan now, is the Konate situation. Because like I said last night, we've let this go long enough. You know, surely the club will know now whether the possibility of an extension is likely or not. And let's see how it pans out. You know, I can't second guess what they're going to do. I know what I would do. I would have said, look, got to be done by this point. If we can't agree it, move for Mark Guehi. Tell Konate, if you'd like to move now, we'll make that happen. If you want to try run down your contract or whatever, fair enough, but your minutes to be limited. That's the kind of thought process I'd have here. Because again, if it's a number thing and Liverpool have one valuation per week for the player and Ibu has another, if they can't figure that out and both sides will know where their red line is, how long do you let it go on? Because I can't see Liverpool's valuation of a player on the wages suddenly changing overnight to a massive extent. I can't. They will know what they think Konate's worth per week. And if they don't want to get to his number, at what point do you have to say both sides just can't agree? Timu just called and refused to sell Newcastle. Okay, but you can put it over 3 installments. Does you not know that, Dave? With 3 easy installments on there. JFT97 Toronto, lovely to see you, my friend. I hope you're well. Said, how are you, Craig? How are you, Craigie boy? I wonder if us talking to Rodrygo is clever Hughes' tactic to make Newcastle fear losing out on 130 million. Also, keep an eye on Fofana. It's intriguing. Like I said, I don't want to sit here and say definitively it is one thing or another because, like your good self, mate, I'm intrigued to the thought process here. Because if ISAK isn't possible, and again, I don't think anybody can say with any level of certainty at this point if it is or isn't going to happen. For me, if Newcastle get 2 players signed up in that position, I still am at that 99.99% people love to throw at me, but I've always said that is caveated on them getting the signings in. I don't think Visa will be enough. But I'm at least glad we're being linked with a player that makes sense to me and a player who I think would be a good enough addition if we can't get ISAK for the here and now. Akos, Curry, how are you, my friend? Said Newcastle's response is a pitiful attempt of trying to be smug and bossy in a situation which is otherwise humiliating for them. The PIF attitude shines through. So, for me, when I look at the Newcastle situation and their statement, it doesn't feel like it's one thing or another to me. It doesn't feel strong enough to be a real condemnation. It almost just is a something and nothing one. But what others have interpreted as has been funny. For instance, Ian Doyle said so. They publicly admit for the right conditions he's for sale. And that's the part of this that makes me laugh. Not what Ian Doyle said, I agree. But what makes me laugh on all of this is Newcastle's stance, the media around Newcastle's stance, has jumped around and hopped around. So 1 minute, they wanted ISAK and they wanted Ekitike. Now all of a sudden, we're being blamed for them not getting Ekitike, and that messed us up having a chance to get ISAK, even though they knew and were told what was going to happen. So that was one. Then it was he wasn't for sale, just isn't for sale. Now it's pay the money. Pay the 150 million euro. Get serious. Put in a real offer. Also, they reached out to Liverpool and said, can we have a chat? Liverpool came to the table, put in an offer. Probably thinking, might not be accepted, but, you know, get the ball rolling. Whatever refusal we got seemingly was enough for us to go, nope, not going to revisit this unless we get some encouragement. So what I'm in a long-winded way trying to say is I don't see the upside for Newcastle's owners here. I don't. What do they win in this scenario? They win keeping a player who doesn't want to be there. They win showing that a player who goes to Newcastle and potentially wants to move on in their career isn't going to go, isn't going to get a chance to move. I'm struggling to see the upside. Yeah, yes, I'll keep a player, but he's not going to give a shit. He doesn't want to be there. You're not going to get the best version of him. Every time he feels a niggle or a strain, he's likely to go, don't feel like I can play, lads. Thighs hurting, blah, blah. So I don't see the win and the upside for them that some of their fans are making out. Like, aha, we've won. Ha ha ha. Have you? We'll move on to another target and we'll be absolutely fine. But remember, PSR, and that's the evil. PSR is the evil. Their own accounts are saying it. PSR is the evil in football. Yeah, those dadgum rules, you know. God, so hard when you have to operate within the rules, isn't it? The unrecognised. How are you, sir? Said, I can see the ISAK situation ramping up after the Newcastle game. Can't see any movement from Newcastle until that game is done. Thank you for the daily updates as always, Craig. Top man. Thank you, sir. So I think about this one a little bit differently, and I know I'm in the minority because most people, even Connor, the other half of our channel, agree with what you've said. But I don't see the difference. Like, let's say it was agreed before we go to Newcastle. Is that going to make them any more or less angry than they are now towards Liverpool, the fan base? I would say no matter what happens, even if Liverpool say right now, right, we are 100% not going to go for ISAK. Sorry, lads, we're going to eat a load of humble pie. Our bad, we'll move on. It's not going to change anything. Monday night is going to be absolutely febrile, is probably the right word, up there. It's always a great atmosphere. It's always a tough place to go and play. And Monday, it's not going to be any different if Liverpool start the process now or after Monday, in my opinion, because it's not going to change what we face on Monday night up there. So Guehi is going to be Konate's replacement. Leone for Gomez. Kwanzaa 2027 when he comes back. VVD forever. Love my optimism. So personally, I don't see a world where we get Kwanzaa back. I don't. He's going to have to do really, really well in Leverkusen, I think, for us to trigger it and pay what that clause is, which is upwards of 60. Guehi to be Konate's replacement, I'm absolutely fine with. But I'm also fine with Ibu staying. The only thing I'm not fine with as a fan is going into the last year of Konate's contract and letting him run it down. I just don't like the optics of us letting another player in their prime leave the club. Now, on Trent, I was reading something on the Echo earlier on, and it was talking about some of the reports from Spain about his first game, and fair to say, they're already wanting Carvajal back in that position. And, you know, we all kind of knew this was going to come, so maybe the grass isn't always greener. But look, it's also early days as well. Dave's random video said maybe we should buy Visa. So for me, I just don't think he's good enough, mate. I don't. So of the three good forwards that were at Brentford there, and obviously you could go back further to Ollie Watkins, whatever, but right now you had Ivan Toney, who left recently enough. You had Brian Mbeumo, and you have Yohan Visa. For me, Visa's the worst of the three. That's my take on it. You know, Mbeumo, great player. I think he'll do well at United. Toney, goal scorer. Obviously, no denying that. So, yeah, for me, he'd be a no. But I get why you're saying it from a banter perspective. Just don't think he's good enough, ultimately. Right, let's check the poll. So we asked, if Newcastle United get Yohan Visa and Larson, do they sell ISAK? So still time to vote if you haven't. It's a pretty one-sided vote, but we'll leave it go a little bit longer. Right, let's get into the chat. Wayne, how are you? Wayne Hoxby, nice to see you, mate. Said Murillo's a good defender, Brazilian, age 23 and worth 80 million. But Forest are a club that are building, and I would say it would be an incredibly difficult deal to get him out of Forest. I mean, you've seen what happened when Morgan Gibbs-White nearly moved. You know, he got given a new deal, and it got very litigious or legally very quickly. So, you know, just don't see that one being possible. I don't think that Liverpool want to spend that level of money on a centre back, because we brought in Leone, and I think, let me just paint a picture in my mind. So let's fast forward 2 years' time, 3 years' time, actually, to be more precise. Let's fast forward then. So Leone be 21. Konate would be what? 29, 28, 29 at that point. Mark Guehi would be 28 at that point. So that would be the older, younger centre-back pairing. The kind of Virgil Kwanzaa, Virgil Konate type thing in 3 years' time. So I think that would be the plan. Have either Konate or Guehi be that senior leader in 3 years' time, and then the young centre-back having come through to be the next one in Leone. That's the way I look at it. But I keep going back and forth about what I actually want to happen at centre-back. You know, because I do like Ibrahima Konate. I've liked him from the moment he came to the club. But I also do have concerns that I've raised a lot about the way he plays and sometimes the way his mind can wander. Then you've got Mark Guehi, an established England international. I personally would probably lean into preferring Mark Guehi for the consistency and the leadership that I know is spoken about a lot with Konate. And again, I'm not on the training ground or on that pitch with them, so maybe I'm reading this wrong, but I don't see the leader there personally. Craig, Rodrygo in this window, and we revisit either in January or next summer, especially ISAK, you mean, especially because Rodrygo can be seen as a long-term Salah replacement. So the long-term Salah replacement is interesting. I read you out the thing the other day from the Bayern Space account, which said that there is a release clause in Michael Olise's contract that comes in next summer, and a release clause that they reckon is only feasible to really Premier League clubs because it's at the higher end. But Liverpool's name was mentioned, and they mentioned it because they were talking about Michael Olise in a year to 2 years' time being Liverpool's long-term Mohamed Salah replacement. And I've got to say, whilst this is all a very hypothetical conversation, it would be brilliant. I mean, I would sign up for that right now. I don't know about everybody else in the chat, but I would bite your hand off for whenever we lose the great man, whenever Mo's time with the club is up. Michael Olise at about 25, 26, that would be incredible. And if you imagine in the future, maybe a front line of, I don't know, Rodrygo, Olise, Ekitike, or Gakpo, Ekitike, Olise, or, I don't know, ISAK, depending on who's in. I think it would be great future-proofing and really good business. Where am I at? Sorry, I'm on this one. Adam, how are you? Said, I agree with your leadership point, Craig. If Ibu was that kind of leader, Robbo would have left last year. So what do you guys think in the chat? Do you see leadership in Ibrahima Konate, or do you just see him as a good defender? Maybe this is a kind of mute point. Maybe I'm just overemphasizing something, but for me, I'm unsure on it. I certainly see more leadership from the likes of a Mark Guehi, personally. Christian, lovely to see you, my man. Thank you. Said, hey, Craig, hope you're well. Love the show. Thank you, sir. Really do appreciate that. Just jumped in. Could you recap on the big news items shared, if Rodrygo likely with or without ISAK? So, happy to go through the stories, but what I can tell you is the likelihood of any combination of any of the players we're talking about. So, what we do know, according to reports today, and there's a couple, one from Spain, that said Liverpool have entered the race for Rodrygo. The Real Madrid winger is heading to the Premier League. Then there was Peter O'Rourke, who's a journalist, who said Rodrygo's representatives have flown to the UK to hold talks with interested clubs, including Liverpool. Real Madrid are open to selling the forward, who would be keen on a switch to the Premier League. So the question, I guess, Christian, we're discussing tonight and trying to figure out is, is Rodrygo the fail-safe or the option if we can't get ISAK? Or are we talking about Dave O.C. Kopp's post maybe a week ago, where he said, despite the ISAK interest, and even if we sign ISAK, Liverpool still want to bring in a 60, 70 million pound forward. Now, Rodrygo's likely to be more than that. I would say 75, 80 million pound for Rodrygo. Maybe you can get him a little bit cheaper. But where I'm going with it, Christian, is I'm wondering, is there a world where Liverpool finally feel Konate won't get to a number they're happy with, and they try to tempt Real Madrid in with offering Konate in part exchange for Rodrygo, and then we go get Mark A. Now, the ISAK situation still probably comes down to whether Newcastle can get in 2 forwards in the window or not. One, I struggle to say mid-tier because that's unfair, but one, let's say like a Visa, and then the other one, the £60 million plus forward. If they can do that, I would feel very confident, and there's a strong possibility, 99.99% if you want my favourite number, that Liverpool could go and get that deal done. Colin, how are you, my man? Hope all is well. Said, just get in what's going on with Alex. Also, would love to go and batter Newcastle 4-1. I'd love to see Dom at right back. Think he's smart. Hope you're well. I would hate to see Dom at right back personally. I'd prefer to see Gomez or to see Bradley there. Don't mind Dom anywhere else, ahead of the play from there, but not at right back for me. I'm sure he could do a job. But we are going to be met with a very difficult atmosphere, a very quick team in transition in Newcastle who have lots of pace, have a bit of quality in midfield as well, Bruno Guimaraes and Tonali, and it's going to be a very difficult game. So, still don't know what's going on with ISAK, but this post really intrigued me earlier on. The one, where was it? Sorry, man, bear with me 1 second. Yeah, this one. No, where is it? So Sky Sports, nope, not that one. No, where's the one I was talking about earlier on? Sorry, man, I'm confusing myself here. Going through all my notes. Yeah, this one, from Lewis Steele. Liverpool remain on the sidelines waiting to see what happens with ISAK. Of course, they still want to sign ISAK. But the interesting part of this, Colin, he said, a story is circulating in well-placed circles, not connected to Liverpool, not connected to Newcastle, but familiar with the inner workings of the transfer industry, that ISAK was under the impression that a bid of £100 million or more would see his release from Newcastle this summer. Now, we know ISAK put out a statement. We know he talked about broken promises. We know he talked about one-sided version of this event so far. But I still don't know if there is a chance to get him or not. I'm on the fence about it. I think if Newcastle can get the strikers in, yes. But we have to draw a line under it at some point. We either put that second bid in or we move on to try and get somebody else for now, because Arna needs to have enough bodies to cope. And he said he needs another forward. Virgil said we need another forward. We need another forward. I don't think we numerically necessarily need another centre-back. I'd like one, but with Leone in, 4 centre-backs I'm okay with. I just don't like the idea of Konate going in to the last year of his contract. I don't think, psychologically, I always feel, no matter how professional a player is, you're not getting the best out of them in the last year of their deal. Unless you've got somebody like Mo or Virgil who's playing for another deal at the club. That's a different scenario where, yes, a player can play their way into the new deal by showing over the course of a season they're still at the level. We're not there with Konate. We're talking about a player in his prime, a centre-back, an international. So it seems to be just not a talent thing. It's a question of the value. He has one value on his weekly wage. Liverpool have another, and seemingly they can't get it to work. Robert said, I would laugh my head off if ISAK was sat in the away supporters' end on Monday. Well, a good friend of mine is going to be travelling up in the away end with the Liverpool fans, and I asked him to send me a few videos and snaps from it because I can imagine that's going to be tasty. I'm not going to lie, I did fuck around with the idea of going. At one point, I could have got my hands on a ticket. But ultimately, I know I'm going to the United game and I'm already missing a watch-along and I didn't want to miss another one. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. What do we think score-wise, folks? What type of result are you expecting up here? I've had a few people say to me they take a draw right now. I can understand that, but I look at these things in context, and the context for me is the first 3 games, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Arsenal. Let's be honest, the Arsenal game is going to be a tough one, so we can't really call that anything other than an unsure. And the Newcastle away game, again, a really tough one. So in a pessimistic world, 2 draws back-to-back, 5 points from 9. It's not great to defend your title to get started in the season. So there's a weird psychological way that winning one of the games and losing the other, although maybe not great, gives you more points on the board than 2 draws. So trying to figure it all out, which one would be better for us. Probably, if we were to lose to Newcastle, beat Arsenal, probably be the one. But I'm unsure. I probably would take 7 points right now from the first 9 if they're on offer. But maybe I'm being a pussy. I don't know. Right, let's get to the poll. So we asked, if Newcastle United get Larsson and Visa, will they sell ISAK? And 82% of over 3,000 people have voted said yes. Craig, is Conor Bradley going to be fit? Said Mr. MH. He's training, so whether he'll be fit or not, I'm not sure. But he is back training, which is certainly a good sign. And we've got obviously a few days. Thankfully, we're playing on Monday, so a little bit more time for them to get some sessions in. And as long as one of Bradley or Gomez is fit to start, I feel comfortable. Lots of people feeling 3-1 wins, 4-1 wins. Wayne's gone 3-2. Mr. Zane 3-1 to Liverpool. 1-4, ISAK's number. Love that as well. Yeah, I'm probably in the headspace of a 2-2 at the minute in the game. Yeah, I think 2-2 is probably where I'm at. Denver said, is Frimpong injured? He is, mate. Unfortunately, yeah, he is. I'll read you out what Arna said on this one. But yeah, he's out until after the Arsenal game. So after the international break. So speaking about the right backs, the gaffer said, Jeremy has had a very positive injury record. Connor has been out once or twice last season. These things happen. We only have 2 injuries at the same moment, but they're both in the same position. He then goes on to speak about Endo and Szoboszlai being possible options. On Gomez, he said he hasn't had a setback, but he wasn't able to train 3 days in a row. We'll see where he is on Monday and if he can start. You can't prepare for injuries in one position. You can't have 5 right backs, although we do have 3 left backs. Right, Nedge Urban Sports said, I think our net spend now is about 42 mil. I think, do you know what? I don't have it to hand. I was trying to figure it out last night. Nedge, somebody asked me. I think it's about 70 or 80 off the top of my head, but maybe I've got that wrong. But there's certainly plenty of wiggle room for more money to be spent. So could we do these deals financially for ISAK, Guehi and Rodrygo? Yes, we could. We do have that wiggle room. We've always known that. But, knowing we can do it and doing it are different things. Yeah, so for me, the results of this window are going to be... look, I'm not going to mess around. I'm going to say it out bluntly as I always do. Whether or not I have faith in the ownership and the way the club is moving forward is going to be figured out over the next 11, 12 days. Because no denying the players we've signed are brilliant. No qualms about any signature on any player we've brought in. Unsure on Leone just because I don't know enough about him. But obviously Kid has something about him to have that many top clubs after him. So I've no problem with that. But it's going to be in the business we don't do. If we end this window and we don't have enough attackers and we still feel light in certain other areas and we don't have enough strength and depth, then it's been somewhat of a failure. It's been a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 window. If you get in another multifunctional forward and you sort out the centre-back situation with Konate or Guehi, you're then back up into, wow, incredible, best window ever type territory. But there's still work to be done. We've moved on a lot, freed up over £200 million now, and could lose more, could lose Harvey Elliott. So let's wait and see. There's even been talk of McConnell going out. I don't know if that was on loan or on a permanent, but it's a very, very, very nervy last 11 days of this window for me. I think Arsenal will be easier than Newcastle as we're at home. Yeah, I can get that. It's going to be a tough game. I wonder what way Arteta is going to come and set up. Now, a young lady that runs an Arsenal fan account reached out to me during the week and asked me to come on for a preview. Small channel, I think she only has 3,500 subscribers, but like I've always said, my door's always open. So I'm going to be jumping on there for a preview with that young lady next week. But I'm intrigued to see if Arteta comes to play for a set piece or an opportunity, or if he comes and has a go. I think it'll probably be him coming to keep it tight and see if he can pinch a goal and get something on a set piece. But let's wait and see. Joel said, get Guehi anyway. Puts pressure on Konate. Gomez unreliable and VVD won't be here forever. Mate, I'd love that. You know, having Guehi, Konate, Virgil, Leone, Gomez, I've no problem with any of that. I just wonder, is it in the club's thinking? Because the way I think about it is, if it is in the club's thinking, why haven't we done it earlier? Because Guehi is there. Like, I refuse to believe we're being so pig-headed over £5 million difference with Palace for a player that, if we really wanted, we know we could get for, say, 40 million quid, 35 million quid, something like that. Konate, great, but not a leader, said Greg. We need to sharpen up at the back. Throw Leone in with Virgil and Konate, said Ian James. Yeah, we definitely need to look better at the back. No denying that, mate. We've conceded 2 in, the last 3 games, something like that. I know one of them was a pre-season friendly, but not great conceding that many goals, and we definitely need to figure it out. You know, we never have problems putting the ball in the back of the net, or very rarely, but we definitely do need to sort out the defensive side. Now, I'm fully aware as well, Ryan Gravenberch coming back in is going to be huge. You know, we haven't had him for 2 of those last games, so having Ryan there to shield both the centre-backs and to fill in on either side when we move a player upfield, yeah, that's going to make a big difference. Right, where are we at? So Chiesa. There was, again, Bayern Space account that said Max Erbel and Christoph Freund, reached out to Fali Ramadani, who's the agent of Federico Chiesa, in recent hours, hoping to explore the possibility of bringing Chiesa to Bayern Munich. There would be no negotiations, no second thoughts, no hesitation. Chiesa himself went so far as to refuse any direct conversation. So he must have some assurances from Arne of some playing time this year. But if we brought in a Rodrygo as an example, would that limit the opportunities for Chiesa this season? Probably, is my honest answer. Maybe in the short term, Chiesa will get some more minutes as Rodrygo settles in. But again, we're talking about a player who probably isn't fully match fit either in Chiesa. And on this thing with Romano, said Aston Villa are pushing for Nicholas Jackson as a top target wanted by Unai Emery. Emery was Jackson's coach of Villarreal, and the relationship is excellent, with talks ongoing over the formula and structure of the deal. So it doesn't look like Newcastle are pushing or feel like they're going to get much joy with Nicholas Jackson. So, again, a lot of this comes down to whether Newcastle can do any business in the window or not. Right, I need a couple of things, ladies and gents, if I could be so kind. If you could, do drop a like on the stream for us. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And don't forget, if you like all of this transfer news and some weird, stupid insights from me, some shit dad jokes and a few polls along the way, sign up to the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp. We are just about to hit 13,000 people in our WhatsApp community, and thank you so much to everybody who has joined so far. Still time to loan Hughes to Newcastle. Maybe they can sign somebody then. It really, look, I feel a little bit for Newcastle fans and Eddie Howe, because they've done so much good stuff. And Eddie Howe is obviously a good manager, won them a trophy, but it feels like they've been thrown under the bus a little bit, because whatever the structure is at Newcastle is not great at the minute. They haven't been able to attract the players in. It doesn't look like they were ready to go and attack the transfer market in the same way we did. You know, we'd heard for a year that Hughes was getting his feet in under the table. They were planning X, Y, and Z. And look, then very quickly, the business started getting done. Newcastle just seemed to be all over the place. Now, look, Newcastle fans would obviously know about the inner workings of the club better than me, but from the outside, it feels like they don't have anybody in doing the job properly. Scratching Claimers said, Invincible Centurions would be sweet. Punt these feckers on Monday. Won't get Guehi if Konate stays. Arsenal is never easy, but let's make a statement. I am probably too emotionally invested in wanting the result on Monday night. In my head, there's no way we can leave St. James's Park. And I don't mean it's not feasible, because of course we could lose the game, but it's not acceptable to leave St. James's Park without something, with everything that's gone on. And I hope that these lads are mentally and physically ready for what is going to come at them, because it isn't going to be an easy first 15, 20 minutes, and we've got to make sure we do nothing stupid, we don't overcommit, we let it die down a little bit, and yes, if you can pinch an early goal to silence down the crowd, all the better, because they do have some issues that I think we can exploit, but I'm sure they feel the same with the likes of their pacey wingers, Gordon and Barnes and whatever, and Alanga, that they can probably get at us as well, especially in transition. So protect the ball a little bit more than we did against Bournemouth, because again, we shot ourselves in the foot there with turning over possession twice and leaving space in behind twice and being countered twice. The second one in particular wound me up. Kaz, thank you so much for being with us as a member for 2 months. Hey Craig, love the stream, and it's the highlight of my day. Thank you. Grateful to have found this community. That really means a lot, Kaz. Thank you. So many people email and reach out to me to talk about the community and how welcoming people are and how friendly they are. And it's why I get so angry when the assholes pop in, because they ain't us. They aren't our community. They're not the people that have been here with us and grown. And I don't mean they're not new, but I mean they come in to destabilise and cause trouble, which is why I get so aggro over it, because I know the great people in here. Like as I mentioned at the start of the stream, I'm sitting here in a top that Chad sent all the way over from Nebraska to me, and I shed a few tears earlier on, because honestly I've been in a bad place for the last couple of weeks, really struggling behind the scenes, really frustrated at the way my daughter's been treated in a couple of job opportunities, and my heart just breaks for her. I wanted to just finally get a job and so she can have her own way in the world, and it's been tough. You know, that and the abuse that, so you see some of it, you don't see some of it's by email. It's been tough, and I've been struggling, but tonight I'm very regimented in what comments I'm reading and what not. I'm not letting anybody get to me today, because I want to enjoy myself, and to do that, you know, I need people like Kaz and like yourselves in who actually want to be here and contribute and have a bit of fun and talk about the Reds. No lie, Eli said they won't even be playing with a striker. Yeah, that's true, but you know, that doesn't mean they won't exploit space if it's left there. They struggled to break down Villa, of course, even when Konza got sent off, still didn't score a goal and left there with a draw. So, but they're at home. It's their first home game of the season as well, so I do expect it to be difficult, and I expect them to come out of the blocks 100 miles an hour. But what we can't do as well is anything stupid, no early yellows, nothing reckless. Don't give the referee a decision to make on anything, whether it's, you know, VAR incidents or yellow card challenges. Just keep it tight. Who'll play at right back now, said Nathan. So the manager mentioned the names of Endo and Szoboszlai, but I think we just have to wait and see if Bradley or Gomez can train over the weekend and if they'll be ready. Fingers crossed one of them will. I'd have no qualms with either one of those gents coming in at right back. Szoboszlai would be an interesting one. I mean, if Szoboszlai played right back, I could see him doing a Trent type right back role, in that maybe he drift in centrally a little bit, and it would give the manager, I guess, a chance then to get himself, Maka, Gravenberch, and Florian Wirtz all on the pitch together. The real interesting call for me is going to be what he does at left back. Does he go Robertson, or does he stick Milos in again and think maybe it was just a little bit of over exuberance in the first game, maybe wanting to impress too much? Kevin Keegan, straight out with an old El Reliable. I would love it if we beat them. Love it. Yeah, so would I, mate. I would. Yeah, I don't want to leave St James's Park, Liverpool, to leave there without something on Monday. Fuck them all, Craig. Ian, look, man, I'm an emotional dude, like I've said, but I'm also human. And to be called fat, Mr. Potato Head, you know, talk about my eyebrows, talk about my dead parents. Of course, I'm human. Like, it gets you, it hurts you at times, as much as you don't want it to. I wish it didn't exist on the internet. I wish people just didn't like me or didn't want to hear what I had to say or whatever, just watch someone else. But for whatever reason, this is the way of the world at the minute, and it's why I'm not on social media. I'm not built for it. Because I get really frustrated that I can't resolve the situations, you know? Somebody standing in front of you and you're having a disagreement with them, you can talk it through or you can resolve it to some extent. When you've got assholes coming in online, people sending death threats and bomb threats to venues that I'm doing a show in, these are things that nobody should have to deal with. It's fucking mental that you talk about football and people going this far. Like, it's crazy. When your venue ringing you up going, you know, well, we've received this threat. Do you think it's credible? Where's the, like, I'm a fella from Ireland, a working class dude. I don't understand how half of this shit happens or why. All over some football opinions that you might not agree with me on. It feels weird, like. I don't like a load of people, but I don't go around harassing them. I just ignore them or just watch something else. People are just... I don't like where the world is at the minute. I don't like how angry everybody is. And I understand, of course, the anger, because I feel it myself. But this isn't the answer. Vitriol, abuse, it isn't the answer, because none of us would want it for our families. Any of the people doing it wouldn't want it to happen to them or their parents or their families. And none of us would wish it on any of them. So I genuinely just struggle to figure out what the fuck is the point of it. JFT97 Toronto said, Grava's back, so important for us on Monday night. Hope Konate improves on last Friday night. Another Fede late winner and a clip of ISAK in the away end. Yes, and yes. Sign me up for all of that. Yeah, but it's such a big game. Like, it really is. The two international breaks that we have coming up as well, it really does stick out to me that we've got Arsenal before the September one. And then, if I'm not mistaken, we've got Chelsea before the October one. And then after that, first game back is Manchester United. So some big games coming up in quick succession here. And the projection of our season and how it's going to go, it's a lot is going to be said and written about over the next few weeks. This one from TOTT2KZ1. How are we, sir? Said Rodrygo, ISAK and Mark Guehi. Yes, please. Let's go. May 11 days incoming, or mad 11 days incoming. Wonder if we get Rodrygo, would Rio maybe go out on loan? WFM, Craig, love to your fam. Look, in a weird way, I think getting in somebody else, whether it's ISAK or Rodrygo or whomever, I think that actually takes the burden off young Rio and Gamoa. Because when you've got a young player, even one as talented as young Rio, you don't want them to have to be a saviour. You don't want them to come in environments where they have to make the difference. You want to be able to tease them in at times where things are going well and confidence is high and they can go out there and express themselves. And yes, if they make a mistake or two, so be it, young players will. So in a weird way, I think it might actually help his development, because Arne wouldn't want to have to play him 40 times in a year out of necessity. He'd want to introduce him when he feels it is right for his development and for the team. So I think bringing in another forward probably gives him that bit of breathing room. Will, how are you, Will? Lovely dog, by the way, mate. Lovely little doggo. Said, just jumping in to say we all love the channel. I watch every single day. Love the content and banter. Never change, pal. Thank you. Appreciate that. But like I said before, Will, when you're insecure, which I definitely am, and you don't think, like, here's the little thing. I turn the lights off going to the toilet. I can't even look at myself in the mirror. I hate it. I hate what I see. I've never been confident in that way. So when you've got people pointing out what you already feel bad about, sometimes you can laugh it off, but man, sometimes it hurts. But what never changes is the kindness from people like yourself, mate. That's what I do this for. That's why I'm here. That's why I enjoy it. That's what puts a smile on my face. I hate that a few idiots can sometimes ruin an entire stream, but I'm eternally grateful to you guys for being here with me, for letting me be me, and loving me warts and all. It means so much, man. I feel so loved and so appreciated, but I also at times feel like a massive fraud who doesn't deserve to be here. Unfortunately, success breeds contempt in others. But, so, I get that, Joey, but I think my journey in particular is not being one that I woke up one day, got lucky, and everything fell into my lap. We've been 8 years now with this, starting on Twitter, writing articles, doing a podcast. It's only been 2 years that this has been a job for me. So, the success isn't really here, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not a wealthy person by any stretch of the imagination. Things are starting to go well, and fingers crossed, my dream's to buy my house that I live in, even though I was hating it last night. And that's a little bit of frustration in me when the Wi-Fi was going down. But it shouldn't. People should just think, if that idiot can do it, if this gobshite from Ireland can do all right, maybe I can do it. And that's what I want to do. I want people to be not inspired, but I want people to think, right, normal people can do this. Normal people can succeed. Because if I can do it, I promise you, anybody can do it. Craig, you're our favourite potato head, and love seeing that face, especially when it's about ISAKs. Do you know what actually made me the most annoyed about the Mr. Potato Head comment? It's that at least Mr. Potato Head can grow a proper tash. Honestly, that's where my mind went to when that one came in. I was like, yeah, Mr. Potato Head can at least grow some facial hair. I can't really do that right either, mate. But thank you, Will. Dave said, look at the subs, mate, smashing it, head up. Subs are brilliant. You guys are brilliant. Like I said, very loved man today. This care package from Chad, honestly, it's always a good day when a pile of Adidas stuff comes to you, but for it to be sent from the other side of the Atlantic from somebody who I've never met, who only, came into our community in the last few months, I feel very blessed and I feel very undeserving of it. But, man, thank you. Ryan said, would be so awesome if it was a reverse fixture on Monday and we unveiled ISAK in front of Newcastle. Also, stay strong, my friend. It would be. It definitely, like, I'd prefer this to be flipped. To be playing Newcastle at Anfield and Arsenal at the Emirates. Definitely would prefer that. But I guess look at it another way, right? If we can go up to Newcastle and get a win, even in the circumstances that are in it, what does that say about where these lads are at? If we can win, it's brilliant. You've got a very tricky game, historically a tricky game out of the way for us. And it will fill these lads with belief that, yeah. And look, we should be going up there, Ryan, and playing with a swagger. Like, we are the Premier League champions. They should be going out there and feeling that and saying there's a reason we won the league title and prove it out there on the pitch. Because I'm sure the players have probably seen some of the tasty comments that have been aimed towards Liverpool, and I'm sure both sets of 11 players are going to want to do it and put a performance in for the fans. Kaz, again, how are you? Always freaks me out when I see like Australia, New Zealand or whatever, thinking how far away you guys are, Kaz. Hey Craig, you're amazing. I'm certain that I'm not the only member who feels this. It's because you're genuine. Is there any transfer news? I hope you and the family are well. Much love. So, it's still in the world of hypothetical on the transfers, but I felt very relieved, Kaz, today when I seen the reports that Rodrygo agent was coming to the UK and that Liverpool were at least meeting, because that tells me that, okay, there are other irons in the fire. What freaks the shit out of me is the idea that we keep waiting for ISAK, and for whatever reason, we can't get it done. that is up shit creek for me. And I said it last night, and I'll reiterate it today. If we don't sign another forward of a very, very high caliber, I don't see how we can win the league this year. I just don't think over the course of the season we have enough strength and depth. And that's, if that happened, that's criminal to do that, especially with the good start to the window we've had. So I can only assume that Liverpool allowing Diaz to go, allowing Darwin to go, allowing Ben Doak to go, being open to Elliot going, I can only assume that they have it in hand. But God, I'd love to be on the inside track and know exactly what the plan was, because keep looking and going, right, when are we going to get the plan? When are we going to move? When is the action going to start? And I know a lot of people have in their heads Monday night, but let's say it doesn't. Let's say you wake up Tuesday, nothing happens. It's starting to get to twitchy bum time, and we really, really do need to get cracking. Joey said, so well done, your success is the best way to answer those people. Darkness is only where the light doesn't shine. You're shining, brother. Thank you, my man. Joe, even somebody asked me yesterday about That's Football getting the Bundesliga rights. And I didn't know whether they asked me about it to bait me because they know I fell out with Goldbridge and I don't think much of him. But genuinely, my answer to that one and thinking about it is it's great for our industry. Like that YouTubers, or I hate to use the word influencers because it's cringy, that we're now coming into the mainstream sphere and being talked about, thought about in that circle. So as much as I don't like Brent, I'm genuinely happy for the industry and for everyone that's here that's now being looked at. It's a great sign for the future. It's a good showcase to what fan content can do and what people can go to become. And as much as, again, I don't like him, it certainly drives me on to think, wow, who knows where this can all go, which is why I always say to people, if you want to start it, just do it. You know, who cares? You're going to get abused. If you can put up with that for a little while, do it. Because the highlights of this for me has changed my life. And I'm not talking about the financial sense. I mean, I've got to meet so many cool people. I've got to chat about football every day. It's been, honestly, outside of my family, the pleasure of my lifetime. And I love it. And I love our industry's booming. Luke said, well, Craig, did you see the Irish guy's vid on ISAK saying Newcastle should call his bluff and make him stay in the reserves? Hope all is well. So, honestly, if I was in Michael's shoes or Brian's shoes or any other Newcastle fan shoes, I'd probably be saying the same thing. You know, I think I've said it before, and I've said it about Konate if he wouldn't sign a new deal, you know. So I get it. I totally get it. But again, I don't see really what that does to benefit Newcastle other than very firmly draw a line under, if you're an agent, to go, the fuck am I sending my player over there if this is what happens? But I totally understand that standpoint. Like I said, if I was in their shoes, I'd probably be thinking the same way. Right, so some stats from Mark A today, performing from Palace. 90 minutes played, 4 clearances, 2 interceptions, 93 out of 103 accurate passes at 90%, 3 key passes, 7 out of 11 accurate long balls, 2 big chances won, 7 out of 8 duels won, and 1 successful dribble. So, looks like a good night's work there for Mark A. Mel, thank you, Mel. 3 months with us as a member as well, Mel. Appreciate you. Said, you keep us Reds going. Thank you, my man. Or, no, Mel. Mel could be either. Yeah, Mel could be either. I'm definitely sitting on the fence on this one. Thank you, Mel. Josh said, we should offer a little bit of love to sweeten the deal. Let's go with a bit of love, mate. You know, let's be somewhat PG about this. And thank you, Josh. Robert Clements, how are you, sir? Said, Craig, please don't let the dregs of the earth get to you. I was told as a teenager, don't have problems, only solutions waiting to happen. Great channel. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I just don't get it. And I hate that people think it's normal as well, as in to do as a youngster watching or whatever. Like, I'd hate that. I have a real bee in my bonnet about role models for kids who are online. I actually had a weird conversation with my own son, Robert, last night about religious content he was watching, believe it or not, because he was feeling guilty about something because this religious influencer that he was watching said that any urges he feels in a sexual sense are sins. And he was really upset about it. He's like a young 13 is what I'd say. And it really just matters to me that people have a decent influence. Like, I swear and I know I do, but I also know how to respect people and, you know, try to show a good side as well. But thank you, man. And I hope life is good for you, Robert. Vipero98 said, is the news about Rodrygo reliable? I don't want to get my hopes up. So it depends what you think the news is. So what I will say to you about Rodrygo is what's been reported, which is twofold. One report from Spain that said Liverpool have entered the race for Rodrygo. The Real Madrid winger is heading to the Premier League. The second one from Sports Pedo, who is Pete O'Rourke, if you want to have a look, said Rodrygo's representatives have flown to the UK to hold talks with interested clubs, including Liverpool. Now, key there is interested clubs, including Liverpool, not just us. So it's not come over to formalise and finish a deal with us. I'm sure Manchester City, maybe Arsenal and others are going to be interested. They go on to say, Real Madrid are open to selling the forward, who would be keen on a switch to the Premier League. And also one comment that comes up a little bit about, where are we? About this. I guess I want to address as well. So people keep saying, one, I swear I've heard you say this is your last show before, and two, why is it your last show? And the two reasons for that is, the reason that you've heard me say last show before is because it was supposed to be, but one of our shows at Liverpool didn't happen with the incident that happened at the parade. We didn't feel right to put it on. So we're going back over, and all the ticket sale money, and they are priced at just £15 each. All of our revenue from that is going to be going to Joe's Wheelchair Basketball Fund. So that's why I wanted to go back and do one more show, because I felt like I had unfinished business in Liverpool because we couldn't do the last one. And also the reason why I'm doing one more and no more is stage fright. It's as simple as that. It doesn't really get easier for me as I do them. I thought when I did 3, 4, 5, I'd feel less anxious, but it doesn't. So this is the last one. We're doing it for good cause again, and just clearing that one up because I see it mentioned in the comments, and obviously I can't go in and interact with every single person to explain it. Zach, love the channel. Listen to it every day at Amazon in California. Nice, my man, over in Cali. Much love. I kind of like Dom in the right back. He's pretty composed and is fit. So at the very start of this stream, Zach, somebody talked about Dom in the right back position. Let me see if I still have the super chat. Yeah, I don't have it still. And I kind of dismissed it. But the more I've thought about it as the stream has gone on, when I started to think about maybe Dom playing the right back role in a kind of Trenty way, the more I think maybe I was a little bit too quick to kind of brush off the idea, because I could see him doing that kind of role, you know, that where he drifts in field, and he has the ball striking ability, he has the range of passing, he has the fitness to get up and down. So maybe I've been a little bit dismissive. And also, like I mentioned, it may give Arne the possibility to get himself, Maka, Gravenberch, and Dom all on the, or Wirtz all on the pitch together. Amazon in California, that is nuts. Honestly, it genuinely not freaks me out, but it intrigues me that people are all over the world coming together and tuning in and having a chat. California, Australia, it's mental. Stephen, it's a great channel. Love the background. Don't let the haters get to you. Thank you, my man. I'm very proud of the graphics and the way the channel looks now. Shout out to Drawdy, shout out to Connor for all their hard work and making that happen. And also, a lot of the stuff that we do now on a match day is all interactive, so it updates automatically for us when a goal goes in, when there's a yellow card. And we hope and want to keep trying to make these things more interactive as we go on. Because interactivity is at the heart of everything we do here, and I really just want that to be the case moving forward. I always worry that as we grow, we might lose that, because I see some people's chat and it just goes, and you can't keep up with it. But so far, we've been able to keep it as interactive as we can, and that's because of you guys as well and your amazing support. This one. In your opinion, is it ISAK or no one, chap? It can't be ISAK or no one, Lee. Now, and the reason I say that is we've shit the bed if we don't get it sorted out. Like, we're going into the season now with Mohamed Salah, who we lose for 6 games, with Ugo Ekitike, with Cody Gakpo, with a Federico Chiesa that wasn't given game time last year, didn't have a full pre-season because he wasn't in Asia with the lads, and probably isn't match fit yet, and a young Rio. Not enough. It's just nowhere near enough to cover the positions the way we need to. So I don't think it's ISAK or no one, no. But I hope the Rodrygo thing is either the fail-safe or maybe a delicious little extra. I don't know. Yeah, I fail. See, I can't see how it's spun, Lee, right? Arna said he needs another player. Virgil said we need another forward. So I can't see how the club can spin this if they don't get Arna the forward. Because you can't say you spent a whole summer waiting for ISAK, because at some point you had the ability to say, right, this ain't happening, and move on. And also, yeah, these are very intelligent people. Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, the recruitment team. So I have to think that there is a plan, but I just keep waking up every day and wondering when we're going to see the last part of this come to fruition. Dom at right back will allow us to outnumber their 3 central midfielders. Good take, Harry. Yeah, look, it'll be interesting. I mean, I wonder also, will we see if, let's say, Gomez or Connor is ready to play at right back? I wonder, would we see somebody in the false 9, maybe? And maybe we go with 2 advanced midfielders for extra bodies, and one goes forward, one comes back, and maybe we try to confuse them. I'm expecting Arna to pull something out of the hat that Eddie Howe isn't expecting. He's done it before, and I hope he does it again. I'm watching you all the way from Dublin, said Nathan. Still quite a way up the road, dude. Still quite a way up the road. So I was very glad to be not living in Dublin anymore when my missus got the flat tyre last week, and she was ringing around trying to get some of the prices in Dublin garages, and oh my God, the difference in price. It ended up cheaper for us to get somebody to come down from Wexford to fix it.
It cost us less than what the Dublin crowd were trying to charge us for a tyre without the collar.
I know, scandalous. I was saying it the other day, and absolutely thank you to John Bass once again.
Absolute legend of a man. Drove all the way from Guehi. I hadn't even been home for his dinner, and drove up and
I know.
Helped us.
Absolutely legend of a man, and there's a reason why they've been in business that long. Swindon Town in the house as well, double L line, we love that. New Zealand, Greg Williams. How are we? Loving that Argentina shirt, by the way, mate. Yeah, definitely one of my favourites, that one. So yeah, lovely to see you in as well, Greg. Thank you, my man. So, let's ask the question. The age-old question. The one we've been asking for weeks. Do we get ISAK this summer? We've asked this question a lot over the last month or two, and it's always been a resounding yes. So let's wait and see what happens now. Do we finally get it done, or do Newcastle hold firm? So if they get in 2 strikers, right? If Newcastle get Johan Visa and they get Strand Larson and didn't sell ISAK, then it's just massive pettiness, and I can see ISAK and his agent's head exploding if that happened. Itachi said there must be a reason why we sold so many forwards, and we're too deep into ISAK now, and Arna wants ISAK. Will be fire next week, I think. Fingers crossed. Thanks for your daily updates, my friend. Thank you, Itachi. Appreciate you. Like you, mate, I think Arna wants him, and I get it. But if we don't get him in this window and we signed Rodrygo, I'd be fully sure we're going back for him in the future. And I'd be fine with that. Like, if we can't get ISAK, it's not the club's fault. The club will have tried. I understand that. It was always going to be at the behest of Newcastle getting their players in. But if they, don't pivot, then I'd have concerns. But if they pivot to a Rodri or somebody of equal caliber, I'd be fine with that. Rodrygo, as an option. Salah, Gakpo, Ekitike, Rio Ngamoa, Federico Chiesa. That's 6. Fine. That'll absolutely be enough if we want to wait then to see what happens in the future with ISAK. Arthur said, ISAK in January still in play. I don't know. I'm sure from his perspective, yes. From our perspective, again, maybe yes. But would Newcastle be able to attract the calibre of forward maybe they'd want? And I guess it could also depend on how ISAK's situation at Newcastle is at that point. So if he's reintegrated into the team and is starting to score goals for them in a World Cup year, will they want to break that up and roll the dice and say, right, if we bring in another forward, will that keep us in the trajectory to getting European football again? So there's a lot of hypotheticals and a lot of moving pieces at that point that I don't think anybody could definitively say one way or the other. Rafa, appreciate you. 20 months with us as well, Rafa. Thank you, bro. Said, great as always. Thanks for entertaining me on the drive home. Well, drive safely, my friend. Drive safely. Is porn still banned in the UK? Well, I don't live in the UK, mate. I'm in Ireland, and it absolutely is not over here. So I'm assuming in the UK it isn't, but definitely isn't over here in Ireland. I've done some research on it just to make sure, and I can confirm that it is accessible. That's definitely the weirdest super chat of the night, though. Interesting question here. Very interesting one from Arthur. Good question. Still take ISAK if Champions League Cup tied. So I would, personally, yes. I can't remember, though, if, let's say, ISAK played for Newcastle in the league format and signed for us, can he play in the knockout stages, or is that him cup tied for the entire season in the Champions League? I really can't remember the answer to that. But would I still take him? Yeah, I would. Because you're still going to have him for the league. You're still going to have him for other competitions. It would be preferable if you had him for the Champions League. But for me, I would say still yes. I would still bring him in. But it's something I haven't actually given much thought to, Arthur. So that's why I'm saying good question. Craig Bone, how are we, sir? Said, if Elliot sells our net spend in 2 years, averages 20 million quid a year, feels like our pants have been pulled down. So I totally understand it, mate. Like if we end this window, let's say, like you've said, with maybe one more fringe player and a Harvey Elliott sold, and we're back at 30-40 million net spend, yeah, I'm going to be angry. Not because of the net spend, but because it means we will have still left spaces in the squad and we wouldn't have done enough business. It's all very well and good getting the great players we did, and they are brilliant, and they are certainly ones that we're all happy with, but holistically, bigger picture, not enough depth. So I understand. That's why I said, and I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, my thought process on where the club's ambition are, and particularly towards the owners, is going to be dictated over the end of this window. The start of the window, how could I have any complaints as a Liverpool fan? Over the moon with the business we did. But it has to be finished. The job has to be finished. And 70% of the job isn't enough because our competitors have kept a lot of their strong players and have added to it. We got to have done the same, and we haven't done enough yet. So let's see what happens over the last 11 days. Monkstown Glass, how are we, sir? Said, will Rio be used? Why is Federico a choice this year? So from my understanding, the Federico thing is more to do with Diaz. So Diaz has moved on, and I think maybe Arne feels between Federico and maybe some of Rio and Ngamoa, he can fulfill that space. Now, I'm not saying it'll be like for like, or the output will be the same, but it's somewhat of a sacrifice to allow Rio to develop. But the true test is going to come, like you've said, of when he turns to the bench, when the chips are down, Does he feel like he can bring on Chiesa? Does he feel like he can bring on Rio? If Cody has a knock, are we going to see Rio play 3-4 games in a row? Is Chiesa ready to do that? So there are definitely some questions still to be answered on the Chiesa stuff in particular, because we heard last year at first that the only reason he wasn't getting played is that he wasn't fit enough. Then 2 months, 3 months, 4 months went by. Still no Chiesa on the bench, and you're thinking, right, he's been named on the bench, so he's clearly fit, but manager, no interest in bringing him on. Has that really changed? Well, at least it seems to have. You know, there was Romano's comments the other day to say that Chiesa's kind of been not given assurances on playing time, but he's had positive talks with Arna over his role this season, and he certainly seems to be re-energised and believing, so let's wait and see. Nimrod, how are you, sir? Said Aston Villa interested in Jackson is definitely a sign Watkins is on his way out. Maybe to Newcastle. They already bought a backup striker, and no way Jackson will come as a backup. I never really thought about the Ollie Watkins impact of a potential Nicholas Jackson sale. It could make sense. Would Newcastle feel that Ollie Watkins would be that, to use a phrase that has been thrown around, that Champions League level striker? Well, you'd have to say probably, right? You know, he is 30 though, so you do have to keep that in mind. I don't know. I don't know what. Like, there's even a shout today that Morgan Rogers could be on the move. Is it Spurs have turned to Morgan Rogers as an option after missing out on Eze, which I'd be astonished if Villa were to sell Morgan Rogers. I really would. West Side Stories said, "You'll never walk alone." Thank you, bro. Any chance we're selling and opening up room so we can afford bigger wages? Maybe Rodrygo. I think we can bolster. We're just paused to get the best deal. Sadly, with these owners, you can expect it. Very likely. Like, I'd be a liar if I said my thought process wasn't sort of aligned with what you've said there. So get the stuff done quickly in the window, and then sit back, sales, and let's see what we free up. So yeah, I think what you said is absolutely possible, that the club are now looking to free up not just wages but spaces in the squad. And they've moved on Darwin, Diaz, they've moved on Ben Doak, probably Elliott, Tyler Morton, Jarell Kwanzaa, Queeveen Kelleher. So yeah, there is space and wages being freed up, and I do think enough big wages have been removed off the books as well. So yeah, there's definitely some sensibility to your thought process there. And yeah, thank you. I agree. Pornhub is banned in Alabama. So a friend told me, Rafa. A friend. That's mad. Like, how could that be the case? Like, website banned, but, you know, here, have a gun. When I heard the thing about the Kinder eggs as well and the toys, the plastic being too dangerous, sometimes in life, not just in America, in life you just think, how does this make sense? What's this he's just sent me? Okay, so Romano has just said, Newcastle have made contact with Chelsea regarding the possibility of signing Nicholas Jackson in the last 48 hours. Now, I'd like to hear from Romano who's winning this race, because obviously we know from his post earlier on, he said Aston Villa are pushing for Nicholas Jackson as a top target wanted by Unai Emery. Emery was Jackson's coach at Villarreal, and the relationship is excellent, with talks ongoing over formula structure of the deal. Villa also aware of competitions with several top clubs keen. So let's see. Let's see who he favours a move to. Obviously, Villa in the Europa League, Newcastle in the Champions League. But let's wait and see. Both good clubs, by the way. So, you know, Aston Villa are a very good football club as well. So I'm certainly not going to say one club's miles clear of the other. you can make valid points as to why you could go to either one and the pluses and minuses. Itachi said both ISAK and Rodrygo this window seems not realistic. Which one of both would you prefer before September the 1st? ISAK, definitely. If I could just have one ISAK, but I'm not going to lie, if we don't get ISAK and we get Rodrygo, I'm not going to be too displeased about that either, because that would be a damn good bit of business. Colin Blackshaw, how are you, Colin? Said, having doubts now on ISAK, might be January signing. I don't know, mate. Like I said, I have doubts as well, but we don't seem to have publicly pivoted yet. And certainly I don't know of an offer having gone in on anybody, but you know, sometimes with us, things happen like that. So let's see, you know, if the news about Rodrygo's agent meeting with clubs, let's see if that comes to that. Let's see if that leaks later in the, well, it should come out soon enough, by the way, in the late press briefing. So what's this? Hang on. Right, so this could be good news for us. Guehi just said Manchester City have decided to block an exit for Savinho. It means Rodrygo is not expected to join Pep Guardiola's side. So if they're not moving for Rodrygo, and I don't know if Arsenal have the space in their squad for a Rodrygo, I really don't know, or the financial means to do it with the business they've done. Really, genuinely don't know the answer to that. It's starting to limit who, because would Rodrygo really want to go to Spurs as an example? Doubt it. So could be us, could be Arsenal. Don't really see any other English clubs who would be in the financial space to be able to afford him and offer him the Champions League football. So interesting. And that's from Guehi as well. So very, very interesting news, that one. I'm intrigued. Very much intrigued. Tanya said, Alvarez, any news on him? Nope. Only the report from yesterday, Tanya, which, bear with me, my friend. Let me get this for you. Where was it? Yeah, this one. So yesterday, there was a report that Transfer News Live posted, said Julian Alvarez entourage believe the forward made a mistake by signing for Atletico Madrid. So that's the only real thing I've seen with Alvarez in the last day or so. And that's something that I've seen for a while, to be fair, that he had an unhappiness with how last season went for Atleti. And I've heard a few things off camera that Barcelona may be a destination for him in the future if everything works out for them and the finances are sorted. So, you know, I'd love him. Going into this summer, I said he's my number one target for Liverpool, but of course it doesn't look like he wants to move back to the UK unless something dramatic has changed there. Our only competition for Rodrygo is Munich and Spurs. Well, if we wanted him, I don't see anybody being able to match us with what we could offer, because it seems he wants Premier League football, because who wouldn't? It's, you know, the biggest league in the world. Certainly if you were to look, he's leaving a league that's a pretty prominent league. So to come to the Prem, it's where the money's at, it's where the eyes of the world are at. And look, of course, Bayern can afford good wages, but I think, I just don't, if we want him, I think we can get him, Rodrygo, at this point. But I can't say to you with any... Okay, so this just coming in, a quote from Steve Parish about Mark Guehi. And thank you, Mark, for sending this on to me. So once he signs a contract, he can stay. If he doesn't, we have to look at it. So it's certainly not looking likely that he's going to sign that new contract. There's been no belief that he is going to sign it. So looks like Steve Parish again is talking about that sale that he's always said, can't let a player like him go for free, which is why I was so confused at so much of this report and saying that, oh, Steve Parish won't take any less, he'll let him run down for free. Well, he's said multiple times he won't let a player of that value leave the club for free. Right, last one before we finish up. Thank you, my man, appreciate you. Let me just check. Do we have a poll running? Let me just check that in the background. We do. Do we get ISAK this summer? We'll come back to it in a second. So if you haven't voted, please do. So, Slot Matip and Diaz. Slot Matip and Diaz, to use your name correctly. Said, hey Craig, love the show. Keep up the good work. Hope we've got a backup to ISAK. Somebody like Fofana isn't enough. Needs to be somebody like Rodrygo. I very much agree. Fofana's fine if you get ISAK as a little bonus and a young prospect and, you know, a player you can ease in over the season. But he's not an alternative. I agree with you on that. If you don't get ISAK and you end up with a Fofana, you're thinking, nah, come on. But if you end up with a Rodrygo, yeah. So I agree. Totally agree with you. Right. Blue Blur said, Craig, do you think there's a risk of Madrid trying to get ISAK if they get good money for Rodrygo? No, because, you know, they have a number 9, as in they have an Mbappe through the middle, so I don't see that one happening. They've got that young lad, Fran Garcia, as well. So no, I don't think so. But could you include Konate in a conversation there? Maybe. Right, so let's finish up with this poll. We asked, do we get Alexander Isak this summer? We've almost had 1,800 votes and 64% of you guys think yes, we will get him this summer. So still optimism there. Love to see it. Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to go record the update video because some stuff's starting to come in now. Some quotes and some information around late newspaper stuff. So that'll be out before 11 o'clock. So do keep an eye for it. Probably be out in the next 20 minutes or so. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll be live. So see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place. As, of course, we build up to the weekend. The preview for the Newcastle game will be out on Saturday. The plan is to take Saturday off live content and just put out a couple of videos. So, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow anyway. Same time, same place. And thank you all so much for tonight. It was a really fun stream. I really enjoyed myself. And again, to Chad for my absolutely lovely stuff, mate. Thank you so much for your kindness. And, yeah, see you guys tomorrow.